So this looks sort of like a cross between a Royal Oak, Vacheron Constantin Overseas, and a little bit of Rolex Milgauss thrown in for good measure. But it kind of works. Okay, today we got another unboxing plus, and we're going to be taking a look at a watch from Valuchi. So in this video, I'm going to unbox it, size it, test it out, and then I'll come back at the end with my thoughts on what I thought of the watch during the testing phase. And it's kind of a mixed bag. This is one of their Lunar Calendar series watches that they sent in. They did send it to me for free. I do get to keep it, so that's why you saw the paid promotions flag at the beginning of the video. However, other than the watch itself, I didn't receive any compensation for this review. And Valuchi didn't tell me anything to say about the watch. So, I've seen the pictures of this watch. It has some very obvious influences, which we'll get into as we unbox it. Couple of things I'm curious about. It's got a moon phase and a calendar on it. I don't know if it's like a perpetual calendar. It is a quartz watch, so it could be, so I want to check that out. And I haven't been able to actually figure out what the crystal is, so I'm hoping when we open it up we'll be able to tell if it's a mineral or sapphire crystal. This watch you can pick up on their website for $215, but I do have a discount code which will knock 15% off of that. So I think it knocks it down to like, I don't know, under $200. Okay, let's get this thing opened up. Okay, let's get this packaging off first. All right, right off the bat, the bracelet feels very high quality. Feels really solid. Looks like you're getting solid links all the way around, which is going to be important because this is an integrated bracelet, so you're probably not going to be able to throw on normal straps on this. It is using spring bars in there, so you could take this off, but that's a kind of a custom lug width that you need a strap or bracelet designed to fit it. All right, let's see what we got. So yeah, so while this watch really is wearing its influences on its sleeve here, it looks very well finished and very well put together. This is a quartz watch, so that allows it to get really thin. And there we can see that kind of lightning bolt second hand ticking around. So I kind of imagine that second hand is going to be one of the most polarizing features for a lot of people. I don't know. We'll see if I can get used to it. It's kind of cool, kind of quirky. A dial color on this one is kind of this pale blue. Looks really cool. And this one again, it's a calendar moon phase. So you're getting a moon phase down there at 6 o'clock, and that's a genuine moon phase. I've never used an analog one like this before, so I'm curious to check that out. Then you're getting month, date, and day. So I think this is using a Miyota 6P00 quartz movement. Yeah, I'm kind of curious how this works. So let's pop the crown and see if we can figure out what we've got here. Okay, so speaking of the crown, you are getting that kind of bolt style crown. Again, very reminiscent of the Royal Oak. So we got it popped out once. So it looks like rotating it. Looks like rotating it counterclockwise adjusts the date. Rotating it clockwise appears to be adjusting the moon phase. So I'll have to check and see what phase we're in right now. And then second position is for setting the time. So that, we just advanced the date, or the day. Okay, so there the date just advanced. And there the day just finished. Moon phase appears to advance smoothly with the time. So that leaves the month to set, which it's got a little pusher here, and I'm assuming that's going to be to advance the month. Advancing the time forward. Now, so now I got it set to January 30th, I think. Let's see if advancing the time, if the month will switch over automatically, or if that's something you're supposed to change manually each month. Crown is fairly easy to get a hold of with this sort of screw style crown. So the month did advance half a click so far. It's kind of halfway between January and February though. Okay, but it looks like over the course of like a couple days it got all the way over to February. So yeah, it looks like the month does advance on its own. Alright, let's go ahead and get the dimensions and specifications out of the way on the sky. So you're getting right on 40 millimeters across. And the case shape is kind of a little bit octagonal. You can see it's got a flat edge here. Yeah, so 40 millimeters across there. So lug to lug, you're getting 50 millimeters to the actual lugs, but you can see that this, that's as far as it bends. So you're going to get some protrusion there. So to the first part that really starts articulating, you're getting about 65, but again, that's not like a lug to lug because it does obviously come down and around. So that's going to wrap around your wrist to some degree, even if your wrist is pretty small. But yeah, with these style straps, a lot of times if you have a really small wrist, it does wear a little bit awkward. After I size it, I'll see how it fits on my 7.5 inch wrist. I gotta say, the quality of the overall watch feels really good in hand so far. You're getting very nice brushing pretty much all around. Completely brushed case with some sort of polished accents on the bezel here. Looks and feels very solid. I like how thin it is. Oh, we didn't get the thickness. Yeah, it's only about 8 millimeters thick, so I love getting a thin watch. That's really cool to see, and that's one of the things you can do with quartz. A lot of times people do quartz dress watches and they still make them thick to get better wrist presence. I would much prefer a thinner one. This does have 50 meters of water resistance. Okay, I still haven't been able to figure out if this is a mineral crystal or a sapphire crystal. It is a very flat crystal either way, and I will continue to do some more research and try and figure that out for you guys. Anyways, let's get this sized up and see how it looks on wrist. Alright, so here it is sized up for my 7.5 inch wrist. Now there are no half links on here or micro adjusts, so sizing is going to be a little bit tricky to get perfect. It feels like it fits pretty good for me though. I wound up taking 2 links out. So if you have much larger than a 7.5 inch wrist, you might have a little bit of problem with not having enough links on here. But I would imagine probably up to about an 8 inch wrist you should be fine. This does feature a double deployant butterfly clasp down here. These look really cool, but again, the trade-off is that you don't have any micro adjusts, and if you don't have half links, you don't necessarily always get a perfect fit on the bracelet. This one feels pretty good. One thing that I am noticing right away is that right now it is pulling hairs on my wrist. So we'll see after I wear it for a couple days if it loosens up. A lot of times when you first get a watch out on a bracelet, sometimes the bracelets are a little bit sticky like this and they loosen up later. So I'll definitely be testing that. But as I'm looking at this, I am noticing a lot of cool details. Let me see if I can zoom in a bit here. So for one, you can see they etched their name on the inside of the case there. Kind of Rolex style. It's kind of cool to see. This is a really beautiful kind of ice blue dial with blue applied indexes. Then also a blue second hand lightning bolt shape. Actually, the minute and hour hands are also blue. Just got to catch the light right. As are the subdial hands as well. So blue hands all the way around. It's kind of a real pale color scheme. They have a lot of different colors that you can choose from there. So this one is not as much contrast. You can see very nice brushed finish all the way around the case and bracelet sides of the watch. And then the back of the watch, they have a really cool sort of laser engraving. I think this is Amsterdam. So they advertise that they're based in Amsterdam and Milan, or at least that's where they get the inspirations from. Okay, let's go ahead and test this thing out and see how it performs. Alright, I am back after spending a couple days with the Valuchi Lunar Calendar, and I've got my thoughts prepared on it. And it's kind of a mixed bag. So let me run through the challenges and problems that I found with the watch, and then I'll talk about the things that I did like about it. So the biggest problem for me was the bracelet. It did continue to pull hairs, and for me that's very annoying, and it made it kind of difficult to wear on a daily basis. It's something that I didn't necessarily look forward to putting it on because I knew it was going to start yanking hairs around on my wrist. And that was a little bit surprising because the bracelet feels very high quality. It's solid links all the way around. It's pretty well put together, so I didn't think that it was going to be pulling hairs like that. But the more I wore it, I think that bracelet, there is some issues that I have with it. It doesn't offer very much articulation at all. So the links do not bend very far, which gives you this kind of weird thing where the bracelet is kind of stiff. It's more of a fixed loop than it is like a kind of a moving thing that will conform to your wrist really well. So there were times where it didn't wear on my wrist quite right. I had these kind of, just awkward little bulges coming out of the bracelet because it couldn't quite conform to the curves of my wrist properly. And I think that kind of adds to the hair pulling thing. I think the links are so tight together that the hairs of your wrist kind of get caught in there and then yanked around as the bracelet moves around on your wrist. And this is interesting because I reviewed a similar looking watch to this, the D1 Milano, last summer that had a bracelet that looks very much like this, but the bracelet on that one was very fluid and very articulate, and the links would lay completely flat against the back of the watch, and you could move it all around and it would wrap around your wrist very nicely. So I had kind of expected this one to have a bracelet more in line with that one because they look, from the outside, they look almost the same, but when you actually feel them, the links being so tight together and not having the flexibility on this one, they wear very differently. To make matters slightly worse, this bracelet also does not have any half links or micro adjusts on it. So that makes it difficult to get a really good fit to your wrist. Other issues that I had with the watch, I did find some sharp edges in a number of places, most noticeable on the links that connect to the clasp. Those are kind of sharp. And then also the case back has a little lip on it that felt a little bit sharp as well. I would have liked to have seen all of that kind of smoothed out. And then the movement that they used inside of it, it's a cool movement. It's a quartz movement. It has a moon phase in it. It has a full calendar, so day, date, month on it, which is kind of unique. All of the subdials are functioning, which is great to see in a watch that's kind of really geared towards fashion, to see that they went through the trouble of putting a fully functioning movement in there with functioning subdials and a functioning calendar. But this is not a perpetual calendar. This is a calendar that the calendar does not have programmed into it the number of days in each month. So for instance, it will just keep right on going in February up to February 31st if you don't pay attention to it. So similar to most watches that have a date complication, at the end of the month, when the first of the day of the next month rolls around, you're usually going to have to advance the date manually to get it lined up on those months that don't have 31 days in them. But other than that, it functions very well, and it is really cool to see a moon phase complication that's an actual functioning moon phase complication. So I appreciate that. However, this movement does not feel like it's a super robust movement. I think especially the second hand didn't inspire a lot of confidence. When I was setting it a lot, the second hand would kind of wobble around a lot. And while it didn't give me any problems, it just didn't quite feel like a super high quality movement inside of it. So I think Valulchi kind of bills this as, like a luxury, an alternative to luxury watches, as something like, if you like a Royal Oak but can't afford it, you can get this instead. And I think that's what a lot of people are going for. There's probably a lot of people in the market for something that looks like a Royal Oak. They can't afford it, so they're looking for an affordable alternative. And in a ways, this meets that, but you definitely want to be aware that you're not getting an actual luxury watch for the price that they're asking. I think that the price that they're asking is about on par with what you would expect, quality and components wise from other watches in this price range. It does look very nice. So I think that's the main strong point of this watch. But you're getting a fairly cheap quartz movement inside. You're getting a mineral crystal. It's not a sapphire. I was able to verify that. You're getting some rough edges around on the finishing. And those are all things that you would not find on a much more expensive watch. So they did have to cut some corners to get it down into this price range. But on the positive side, this is, I think, primarily a fashion watch. And again, it's for people who want the look of the more expensive luxury watches but can't afford it. It does look great. It also feels very substantial. It feels like it's actually built very well. Like it doesn't feel like it's going to fall apart or anything like that. It might need some work on smoothing out some rough edges, but the actual build quality feels very solid. Again, I don't want to give them too much credit for the design because it's very heavily inspired by other watches' designs, but they pulled it off very well. The bezel looks great. The screws are really well done. They're put in there good. Doesn't look cheap at all. The dial is really beautiful. I love the applied indexes. Handset is great. That lightning bolt second hand is kind of a quirky thing. It's not quite doing it for me, but I think a lot of people, that's going to be a big selling point for them. So, if you want that little quirk of having a lightning bolt second hand and you think that looks cool, it worked for Rolex and the Milgauss. I don't think it quite works with this design, but that's kind of my opinion. And again, I think a lot of people are going to be all over the place on that one. The crown is very well done. I love the dimensions on the watch, nice and thin, good 40 millimeter dimensions. And the clasp itself is actually really nice. It's very smooth to operate, really feels high quality on the butterfly clasp. So that's nice to have that. So it's got some stuff, so it does have some things going for it. And that's kind of where I'm going to have to leave this one. For me, I'm probably not going to be wearing it much because of the discomfort of the hair pulling on the wrist. Maybe if you have smoother wrists, it might not be as much of a problem. I believe this is Valuchi's first watch. They just kickstarted this one last summer, so maybe they're going to be working on some other designs and refining this one a little bit. Be curious to see how they go from here. But let me know what you guys think. If you guys are really drawn to the design and look at this, if you have any experience with the brand or the company. The brand owner, Kelvin, has been chatting with me a little bit on Instagram about some of their upcoming stuff, so he seems like a nice guy. Be curious to see how that goes. But let me know what you guys think about the watch down below in the comments. But that's going to wrap it up for today. Thanks for watching, and we'll see you later. Bye.